Hello, once again, and welcome to Rare Together, the regular podcast series from LDA Research that explores the real experiences of people living with rare diseases. I'm your host, Andrew Grant, and joining me today are two guests who have very kindly agreed to tell us about their lives. They've both been diagnosed with different conditions, but they do have one thing in common, in that they both suffer from hormonal disorders, and I'm looking forward to learning more about that. So let me introduce you. Firstly, we have Libby, who is joining us from Belfast in Northern Ireland. Hello, Libby. How are you today?
Hi, Andrew. I'm good today. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thanks for being here. And then we have Jonathan, who's dialing in from Woodmere in the US, which is in New York State, I believe. Hi, Jonathan. How are you doing today?
Hi, great. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, welcome both of you. Thanks very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us today. Really appreciate it. So, firstly, I'd like to find out a little bit more about each one of you. Let me start with you, Libby. Give us a little bit of an introduction. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about your home situation, and tell us something about the condition that you're suffering from, please.
Okay. As you said, I'm Libby. Libby's short for Elizabeth. That's my proper name. I am a retired hairdresser. I was a hairdresser for 40 years. I'm divorced and I live alone with a cat now, a very elderly cat. And I was diagnosed with Addisons Disease approximately about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And until then, I was fit, healthy and everything, great, enjoyed life, did everything. And all of a sudden, my life completely changed. And I'm still trying to adjust to the changes that I've had to make, and as a result of Addison's, I have got other issues that are sort of related to it now. So it seems to spread off or branch off a bit. Addison's, it's just not one area. It has branched off into a few, and it does make life difficult on a daily basis.
Right. I'm sure. Well, we'll get into that in a second. First of all, let's hear from Jonathan. So, Jonathan, introduce yourself, please, and tell us a little bit about your issues.
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Kahan. I live on Long Island, not in the Hamptons, different part, but Long Island nonetheless. Libby mentioned she's a hairdresser, and I am bald, so I do not go to hairdressers, unfortunately. But that was a little triggering. I have 4 really amazing kids, and I'm really super proud of all of them. I was diagnosed with acromegaly in 2016, which is even rarer than Addison's. And, I've been fighting really the good fight since then. I've worked as long as I can. I used to be a chief financial officer for various media companies, and now I am a full-time patient. And actually, through one of the surgeries I got, I have second degree Addison's, or secondary adrenal insufficiency. So we have a little bit in common there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to just say thank you to my good friend Jill Sisko, who runs Acromegaly Community, and all my friends there, because they've really made this the journey a lot easier. And I'm very, very lucky to have her and all my other friends and some amazing physicians who've really helped.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. That's a great intro. Well, let's start on that subject, actually. So, about support groups. Libby, do you use any support groups, any Facebook groups, or anything like that to help with you?
The Addison's Awareness Group on Facebook, and Addison's Warriors, which is another Facebook group, but not Addison's Awareness Group is much better organized and run. But full of people willing to tell you their experiences and help you out any way they can.
Yeah. So what kind of help do you get from support groups like that?
Well, I think really, it's knowing you're not alone. and that you're not the only person suffering with this, and it's emotionally, it's very supportive, because I think Addison's, tied in with your emotions and, and how you're feeling, especially for a lady. There's a lot of support with that again, you're not on your own. We are all feeling the same, and take a breath,
Right. Is that your experience, Jonathan, with the support?
Very, very much so. I'm so lucky I found Acromegaly community. And I also am a member of Living with Addisons Disease. And I'd really be remiss if I didn't mention the Acromegaly men's only group as well. Because I think when I was first, I would just actually put it this way, that my physicians told me one thing, and I was experiencing something very, very different. And, again, it takes on average, around 10 years or so to diagnose someone with acromegaly. I think it took me around 21 years to be diagnosed. So this very, very long journey where I was experiencing certain things, and I was told that there's no evidence to support that, what I'm experiencing and what I'm feeling, there's really nothing that could treat me because they don't see it, right? There's no corroborating evidence. And so now to have a whole group of people who told me that, yep, what you're feeling is exactly normal. It's exactly textbook. And here are some things that you can do to help improve your systems was revolutionary.
Okay.
And I feel very, very lucky to have found these groups and made some wonderful lifelong friendships from them.
Right. Okay. Yes. This thing about taking ages to get a diagnosis, it seems to be a common thread that runs through all of the rare disease sufferers that I've spoken to. So, in your opinion, Jonathan, so when doctors were saying those things, is it that they didn't believe what you were saying? Is it that your symptoms didn't fit anything that they understood? Or what was the issue?
I have to say, I think when you think about what took so long to diagnose me, I would say it was a combination of many of the things that you mentioned. But I think the most important thing is many of the doctors that I saw were not necessarily knowledgeable about my rare disease.
Right.
And it wasn't in their sweet spot. So my disease is a neuroendocrine disorder, a very rare neuroendocrine disorder. And I was experiencing pain. So I was seeing various orthopedists. And an orthopedist is not the typical person who's going to diagnose it. I was experiencing fatigue. So I saw a sleep specialist. And again, it's not, even though she's British too, but it's not, and I have such respect for her. But again, it's not in her wheelhouse of the kinds of things that she will see on a day-to-day basis. Again, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know anybody who wakes up in the morning and says, boy, my endocrine hurts. I need to see an endocrinologist. And so it was a journey, quite a long journey to get to see one.
Right. Okay. Was that your experience too, Libby, or?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The same thing, the fatigue, which, it's very frustrating because I seem to spend my life explaining to people there's a difference between feeling fatigue and feeling tired. Everybody gets tired. Fatigue is a different ballgame, and unless really you've suffered with it, you can't really understand it, I don't think. So when I first started going to the GP, yes, I got a lot. I also suffer from depression, which you now know is linked into Addison's as well. But every time for over 2 years, I was told, I think it's just your depression. We'll put your antidepressants up. And I knew I know the difference between feeling ill and feeling depressed.
Right.
So I find it very frustrating. Meanwhile, over those couple of years, I lost an incredible amount of weight. And I was rushed into hospital with acute kidney failure, and I was extremely ill. And that's how they found out I had Addison's. But it was allowed to go to that stage where it was life-threatening, and I was very lucky. And it's unbelievable, within a half an hour of getting the first steroids, I was ready to go home.
Right. Right. So all those years when you could have had that really to so you said something really interesting at the beginning there. You said there's tiredness and there's fatigue. So try and put in words for me, what fatigue is like.
Like trying to do everything underwater, I think, is a way to explain. There's there's an invincible pressure on your whole entire body that everything is a fight. To lift your arm you're conscious that you lift your arm. I don't automatically do any movement without thinking about it prior. So it's so different, and those stages of fatigue change on a day-to-day basis. So there's some days you're not too bad. Other days I would struggle to hold a cup to my mouth. So, it can vary. So I guess that makes it hard for people to understand as well.
And do you wake up in the morning and think, okay, this is going to be a bad day immediately, or does it come on during the day, or, how does it work?
It doesn't seem to have a rhyme or reason to it at all. If I'm not feeling well, that would wake me, the feeling of not feeling well, and I get joint pain. So even in bed, I'm in pain. And, I know I sort of have a built-in thing where I can wake up and know I need the steroids instantly, and wait till they kick in to see how I am feeling. But until I get up and start moving about, then I realize, I put it in, like I can get about 10 minutes a day where I'm on my feet. And some days I get 2 minutes. So then I realize this is a 2-minute day and sit down quicker.
Right, I see what you're saying. Is that your experience with fatigue, Jonathan? How does it affect you?
I think it's the same. I would just use different words. Bless you. Use some different words to characterize it. I think the first thing is when I wake up in the morning, it's not, okay, I woke up, now I'm ready to conquer the day. Sometimes I woke up and it doesn't feel like I slept at all. Mm-hmm. So I'm waking up, again, I don't have a better word to use on tired or fatigued or anything like that. And so I'll force myself out of bed. And again, the waking up process, at least for me, there's so much more involved. I take, first I have to take one medication, and then I can't eat or drink for 45 minutes afterwards. And then I have to take a gel, and then there's a spray, and then there's another spray, and then there's an ointment, and then there's, then there's a shot, and then there's about 8 other medications. So there's a whole, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance to the waking up process. And then, I'll finally get that done. And then I'll get to the second round of medications, which of course I can only have with food. And, then I'll eat it. And I'm like, okay, now I'm actually ready to start my day. And I might actually start it. And then I'm like, no, I've got to go to bed. And then I'll sleep another hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, sometimes longer. And again, it's not like, it's not a leisurely type of relaxing, like, I'm going into bed and I'm smiling, and it's literally almost just a collapsing. I might sometimes just fall on the floor wherever I am, right. And sleep for a number of hours. So I found people associate, sleeping with laziness or, leisure. And it's not like that. And part of that too is, even when I'm awake, some of it is, I think very much like Libby described, it's this, all your faculties are not going 100%. So I have a lot of memory issues. I don't remember things that happened. And so I did take a lot of notes as a result, but it's challenging to, it's really challenging to do that.
Right.
I'm not 100% aware of what I'm doing. I struggled at first, especially with did I take my medication or not until I came up with certain habits and systems.
Okay.
Because it's this very, I really wish I could talk with my hands and describe this, but it's this very cloudy,
Okay.
unawake, just not complete awareness.
Yeah. So this, you both, in the little forms you filled out for beforehand, you both mentioned brain fog, which I guess is what you're talking about. Is that right? And I see you nodding, Libby. So,
Yeah.
so what is brain fog like? I mean, tell me how it affects you.
It ramps the stress levels up so high, that it causes me anxiety. Because I'm so afraid of doing something wrong, forgetting something, or, something important, that it makes me anxious. And of course, with the anxiety, it sort of seems to, it's like a catch-22 situation that just keeps going round and round, that the anxiety causes me to be more forgetful. So it goes on. And I think with myself at my age, I think menopause plays a part in it as well, as for a lady. So I blame that. I don't know, but I was very sharp, and I get so frustrated with myself now that, at times, because I'm like, how could I forget that? Like you said, like forgetting to take your medication in the morning. I have done that, and my sister describes it as not so much going down, but she says you dissolve like a whoopee cushion. So it's just like the rug's being pulled out. That's it, done.
So is the brain fog a kind of permanent condition, or does it fade and come and go?
Mine would come and go.
So you have good days and bad days again.
Yeah, there is. There's more bad days, I have to say. I wouldn't even do it in a day. I talk in hours.
Right.
So you have good hours and bad hours.
So you both told me, so you've given up work. So is that because of the brain fog? Is that one of the main sort of factors that made you give up work? In your case, Jonathan.
Yeah. So let me just, if I could go back to just defining the brain fog a bit. I think, Libby described it, perfectly. I have some other symptoms that I wanted to add on top of that, which is one, I struggle for words a lot of times. So it's like, there's a word for something and I can't remember it. Like, a couple of weeks ago, I was doing a talk with somebody and I couldn't for the life of myself remember the word pathology.
Right.
And so I've gotten to the point where I have conversations and I said, yes. And they sent the sample from the surgery down to the blah, blah, blah department. And because otherwise I sit there and I'm like, what's it called? The people who analyze, and this is the kind of thing that pops up frequently where I just, again, struggle for everyday words and things. There are other points where I struggle to remember things. So if someone were to say to me, what did you do the summer of 1995? I can tell you the entire summer, start to finish, my daily schedule and so on, and all the people I was with and their names and where they were from. But if someone were to tell me, what did you do in the summer of COVID, in 2020? I couldn't tell you. I have absolutely no idea. No idea. I sometimes I would, so going to your specific question about work, I really had to give that up for three reasons. One is the fatigue. So, I'd go into work and then I'd have to take a nap. I just couldn't sit there. And one of the coping mechanisms is you eat every carb in sight, but that doesn't work for very long. So I'd put on a ton of weight because you're just like looking for something to give you energy, especially sugar. Then another thing would be the pain. Again, is very, very difficult and uncomfortable. So, I got to sit down every hour or so because it's just too difficult to sit up straight. and do whatever you have to do, or get up from the desk and go meet somebody else. I couldn't imagine being a hairdresser when you're bending over people. And then the third thing is, when you talk about the brain fog, to me, what it also encompasses, for lack of a better term, I mean, the best term I could come up with it is executive functioning. And it wasn't until much, much later, maybe a year ago, that I actually found an article of challenges of executive functioning with people with pituitary conditions. And the way I would characterize it is certain tasks, right, might take the normal person 5 to 10 seconds, which might take me an hour or 2 hours. But I can't explain why, other than I've got to, before I do everything, what am I doing again? What's the goal? And I have to write down what it is I'm doing, so I'll remember that I did it. And I can't just file it, but I have to write down or have some kind of system where I remember where I filed it. Because sometimes I find it filed away in, folder A, and other times I find it, I actually did it and it's filed in folder B, but I didn't remember doing it. And, I might have used a different term than I used the first time, so it didn't show up in the search. And so that's main things. I mean, but the worst was, if I found, if colleagues would come to the office, or I'd see them somewhere and I literally wouldn't remember them, or I wouldn't remember the last conversation. It made meetings very difficult. It makes, to this day, appointments with physicians very difficult, where I have to, I literally have to study before I go to them to remember what happened the last time. And I'm trying to listen, but also take notes to write everything down, because I'm just not going to remember it.
Right. Is that, some of those things you experience as well, Libby? And what was your situation at work?
Yeah, absolutely the same. And for me, my sense of direction, I wouldn't say it was ever that wonderful, but I don't know where I'm going anymore. I just can't. It's really bizarre. And if I'm somewhere strange and I turn in a full circle, I'm completely lost. I have absolutely no sense of direction at all. And again, that makes me nervous, which causes anxiety, which doesn't help the situation. In work as well, I think I got away with it a good lot longer, because I was doing the same job, working with the same people for such a long time. It was automatic. So it sort of, I got carrying on longer because people didn't notice. But I never remembered anybody's name from I was diagnosed. All the clients that I've done for years and years, all of a sudden I couldn't remember their name. And like that, the frustration of trying to, the frustration of it's embarrassing. And it's, for clients that knew I was, they're like family almost. And all of a sudden I couldn't remember their name. It was really, really annoying. In work though, for me, it was the fatigue. I had liver problems at the time as well, from Addisons, from taking steroids. And that again, to the fatigue. And it was just a combination of, I just couldn't anymore. The physicality of it, I just couldn't do it anymore.
If you or someone you know is affected by a rare disease diagnosis, I'd like to take a moment to point you in the direction of the Rare Disease Network. It's a private support group on Facebook where we bring together people with all sorts of rare diseases from all over the world. You'll find exclusive research and insight. You'll get the chance to ask your questions to leading medical professionals, and you'll hear some engaging and inspirational stories from our growing community. There's a link to the group in the episode note below. We'd love to see you there.
Yeah, so I wanted to just add in one example, if that would be okay.
Yeah.
So in 2018, I was advised to get a neuropsychological exam to thoroughly understand what some of the challenges were that I was dealing with. So in the U.S., you have to figure out who's covered by your insurance. So I remember I started, searching for people and figuring out covered it or who accepted my insurance, if they did, if they didn't, if they were any good, if my doctor would be pleased with their work, where were they located, and when could I get an appointment with them, and so on and so forth. So I went through all this, and I write down my notes, and I go to see the doctor, and I sit down, and I said, wait a minute, I think I saw you in 2016. You were actually in a different office, weren't you? Again, this was only 2 years ago, but it was like that was one example. I started writing or started tracking the movies I watched, because all too often I would watch the same movie again. But I have a very faint recollection of maybe seeing this movie, of maybe knowing what's going to happen next, but I couldn't tell you anything about it. But I'm like, I think I watched this. And I think, like, as Libby mentioned, the anxiety that it causes, the embarrassment and the shame that you feel as a result. And now these necessarily know, but you can't imagine what it would feel like when it's again, when you run to a friend on the street and you don't know who it is. It's really tough.
Right. So just so I understand that. So you're seeing somebody, you know who they are. Oh, sorry. You know them, you know them, but what is it? You can't remember their name, but you remember everything else about them. Is that how it is? Or?
Yeah. You can't, so it's bringing the word forward, I think.
Right.
That's how I would describe it. I can't, so I know their name is in my head somewhere, and I know I will get it eventually, but I just can't bring it forward just to speak it when I need to.
Right.
Yeah, I think the best way I would describe it is, it's like if you're watching a movie and you see an actor and you're like, I know her. What was she in? And you can't, it's like right there. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, I know this person. Or even if, when you recognize the person, you know their name, and they're bringing up something that happened or a follow-up item, the same kind of thing that sometimes you have no idea what they're talking about, but sometimes you kind of maybe remember something, but you can't quite put your hand on it.
This is fascinating. I had no idea this is one of the effects. This is really interesting. But I want to change the subject a little bit now. You Jonathan, mentioned you've got 4 kids. What's your home situation, Libby? Are you living with family?
Well, I live alone. I have one son who is in his 34, they're almost 35 now, and she's fantastic. Again, I was a bit missed at myself earlier, Jonathan, when you mentioned your children, and I thought, I haven't mentioned my prince. I off me. But yeah, he's great. He's just great. He's my sidekick. So other than that, I live alone. He has his own home. So yeah, it's better and not in a way, because if I don't feel like doing housework, I don't do it. So I don't have to please anybody else anymore, which is such a relief, because I find it very, very hard trying to keep the momentum. People don't understand. My ex-husband didn't understand, because it's not, you can't see it. It's not a visible disability. You're confident. People think you're lazy, and again, it's back to the depression. Oh, you're just depressed. Go and take a happy pill. You'll be fine. And no, I'm sort of, I have friends saying that you're still so full of life. Why don't you try and meet somebody else? I'm no, because I just want to be left alone. I just want peace. And
I understand.
Yeah.
I think what I wanted to ask was, you mentioned about your son. You said he's great, but how has your condition affected your son? And I'll ask you the same question in a second, Jonathan, as well, to see how it's affected your children. How do you think it's affected him, Libby?
I think he has become a carer almost. That really upsets me. It makes me emotional, because that's not what I want for him. I want him to have his life and do his thing and not have to worry about me. But he does, because, he worries constantly if I go into crisis, because I'm alone. Will I get to the phone to ring an ambulance? Will somebody find me? So I know it's a lot of pressure on him, that I know he thinks before he would book a holiday or before, and I don't want that. I don't like that at all. I don't like, and I know he's my son. And if it was, I know all that, he loves me, and it's, but that's not how I want what I want for him. I want to look after me.
Right. Yeah, I understand. What about you, Jonathan? So, how has your condition affected your family?
Let's say that question is tough. A little close to home. I'm going through divorce right now.
Okay.
I'm just going to say that I think Libby hit the nail on the head. I think it adds a lot of complexity to it. I'm going to say that before I was diagnosed, like the 5 or 6 months before, I was completely lying in bed. I couldn't move, because in addition to everything else I was experiencing, I also became orthostatic. So every time I stood up, my blood pressure dropped 20 points.
Right.
It's gotten so bad that my standing blood pressure now can be somewhere around 65 over 40, so,
Wow.
yeah, like very, very low. So I get very, very dizzy at times. I've got to stand up very slowly. Sometimes I can't stand up. I have to lie down. And again, this is something that they don't understand, that they can't, no one can see it, grasp it, feel it. And it looks like, you're just not trying hard enough, or you're being lazy or something like that. Again, I can understand that. And that's very, very painful for me, to see that this is something that they have to, go through, experience. It's really tough. I really wish that it didn't impact our relationships. I really would. That's all I'm going to say.
That's
I'm
very, very sorry to hear that. Yeah. So, you talked earlier on about, how healthcare professionals, they don't, if it's not in their area of knowledge, then they struggle with it. I also wanted to ask you, are you aware, either of you, of any research which is being done to help with your conditions? Or, is it, as I've had other people saying about rare diseases, well, nobody cares about rare diseases because there's no money in it or whatever.
Yeah, I was just going to throw in two quick things. Number one, again, I'm not sure how it works in the UK or really anywhere else internationally, but in the US, one of the things that is quite nice is that if you create a medication that treats a rare disease, it will get fast track FDA approval. So again, I'm not sure on the exact details, but let's say there's the 15-year patent on medications. And, after you finish the clinical trials and everything else and so on and so forth, you might have 7 years left. If it's for a rare disease, you might have 13 years left. So it could be a lot more profitable. And even though it's only treating a rare disease, sometimes the medication will also treat other conditions. I don't know, with my condition, acromegaly, it might be able to treat other pituitary conditions or even some cancers or other things along those lines. And now I'm having one of those moments where I know there was another, research, right? Again, it was a conscious effort here that I had to go back to what you were saying, Andrew. I apologize. But there's a physician in Toronto, Dr. Cusimano, that he's doing something that's really, really fascinating, that with acromegaly, with the excess growth hormone, people will go through changes in appearance. So what he's trying to do is to create a database of everyone's before and after pictures, and use that along with AI to help trigger an early warning system to see if people may have acromegaly, if otherwise undiagnosed people may have acromegaly at some time in the future. And if you could do that, that would be absolutely amazing.
Right. Okay. That's really interesting. But I guess that was something that wouldn't help you. It would only help future sufferers.
Yes, but to me, I look at it. I have an obligation to really do whatever I can, because there are, again, most rare diseases, there are no treatments for them whatsoever. Something like 80% of rare diseases, no treatments whatsoever. There are multiple treatments available for acromegaly. And again, I'm only getting them because somebody volunteered their time and effort to do everything else. So it's really up to me and incumbent upon me to do every single thing I can to participate and to help and to make sure that there are treatments available and better treatments available 5, 10, 20 years down the road. So I'm going to do every single thing. I volunteer every single thing I can, participate in everything I can, because I think it's really, really incumbent on me to do that.
Okay, that's a great point. What about you, Libby? Are you aware of any research that is likely to help with Addison's?
I haven't. I've done a couple of bits of helped out with research, but it's unfortunately more about spreading the word of Addison's rather than any actual research into the disease. The only thing I'm quite pleased of is when I was diagnosed, everyone in my GP surgery was sent away for training because they didn't have anybody else with Addison's. So, they didn't know anything about it at all. So they were all sent for training. So, I've done a wee bit. I've got that done.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. Okay. So, that's a great result. And probably a very unusual situation, isn't it? How did you feel about that? That sounds very supportive.
Yeah, I felt, yeah, that's great. I'd be able to chat to them now about it, and I did. I felt more supported and I felt taken seriously for the first time,
Right.
rather more than anything, that people realized that there was something actually wrong rather than depression.
Yeah. Right. Understood. Okay, well, we're getting towards the end. I've got one more question for both of you, but before I ask that, I just wanted to come back to Jonathan, because I know, Jonathan, you said in your notes, you said that you developed some tips and tricks and some hacks to, help with memory. Well, I don't know, to help with all sorts of things by the sound of it. Do you want to just give us a real quick run through of those things to see whether there's anything that might help other people?
Sure. I'd be very, very happy to. I'll give just a couple. Instead of, running through a whole bunch that won't make any sense. One thing that I do is I take a lot of medications. So one thing that I do is I bought some stickers and I put them on the top of the pill bottle and I write the name. That way I don't have to always be picking up each one individually to find the right pill bottle. That's one little thing that I do, which proved to be incredibly valuable.
Okay.
Another thing that I do is I have I use this app called MediSafe, which has been so helpful in tracking my medications, in helping me. Well, let me just tell you what it does. So the first thing is I enter my medication. When I set it up, I enter a new medication. I can say what time of day I take it, how often I take it during the day or what times, right? What the dosage is, who the prescribing doctor is, and how many pills I might have. What it does then is it can give me a refill reminder. So it's not, I don't have these episodes where all of a sudden I realize I ran out of the medication and I need some new one by tomorrow. So, and I can set that threshold when I have 5 pills left, 20 pills left, whatever it is that I want it to do. It gives me a reminder to take my medication. I then have to hit a button that I took it to clear the reminder. So that has really, really helped manage the whole, did I take it? Did I not take it? So that's one thing that's very, very valuable, that I've been able to do. And of course it's 100% free. Another thing that I've done is, again, I'm not sure how this works in the UK, but in the US, you'll see, one doctor in one specialty who'll be affiliated with one hospital, and they have one portal for all their medical records. And you might see another doctor at another hospital that's another portal for their medical records, and another doctor that's not affiliated with a hospital, but they have their own portal for medical records. Right. So again, I found this app called Guava, of course, free as well, and it will bring in information from all the different portals. So I call it like the super portal, for lack of a better term. So if you want to track your blood pressure, you don't have to sit there and go to each of the different portals and write down what each of them were and then show what it was. This will do that all for you. And that's something that's been very, very helpful. It'll also do it from your various, health tracking apps like Apple Health or Google Health or something like that. So if you're tracking all your health metrics on that, then it'll bring it into Guava as well. And now you have, you have a history and you can actually report on it and you can track it and you can do something meaningful with it. So those are just some of the things that I've been able to do to see. And I wanted to share that with people because again, it'll help them be more aware of things if there are issues, be able to share it with their physicians much quicker. And of course, you'll be able to get treatment.
Right. Okay. No, that's really great. Thank you, Jonathan. Yes, I'm sure a lot of the audience will be very pleased to hear some of those things. Do you have any little tricks, Libby, that, you use to get through life?
I set reminders on the phone. Yes, the same thing there to take medication. And I organize it at night, leave it ready for the next morning so that if I'm having a bad day, I just have to reach out. There's no, getting up to get it or sort it or think about it or anything. So basically the same, anything that sort of prompts you to remind you that is a big thing that you need to, take your medication.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you both. So, the last question, what I usually ask people at the end is, kind of what's the most difficult thing about your condition? I'm not going to do that because I don't want to end on a negative. What I'm going to ask you is, what, if anything, has come out of your condition that is a positive? Now, that might be a tough one. I don't know. But I'd be really interested to know if, if there is anything that you can say, well, one of the benefits or one of the silver linings, if you like. Is there such a thing as a silver lining with a rare disease? I don't know. That's a challenging question, I understand.
Yeah, not for me.
Not for you.
Not for me. No, that's not. No, I don't think there's anything positive I can say. No, except getting divorced. Sorry, Jonathan.
Okay. Well, there you go. All right. So there was something that you could predict.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would throw in just one thing that I've been through that was, again, it's sort of positive, which was last year my mom was diagnosed with a rare disease, totally unrelated to what I've been going through, but I was able to give her some tips and some best practices, I would say, on ways that she could better interact with her physicians, give better answers to certain, so she could get better answers to certain things she was experiencing and ultimately help her get better treatment. So I would say the learning curve for her wasn't as steep.
Okay.
But, which I think was very positive. Again, with me, when I sort of, it wasn't like, someone said to me, hey, you've been diagnosed with a rare disease. Here are all the things you're going to have to deal with. And here's a manual to help you guide through the process. It just kind of happened, and it happened all at once. And so it was nice that I could, be able to help her. And, again, I think, she was able to get treatment very, very quickly. She was able to see a tremendous improvement in some of the symptoms she was dealing with. Again, she would tell you it's been a hard journey. She's not where she wants to be, and I'm sure of that. But I would say the curve to getting to a higher level of functionality was not nearly as steep, and so I was happy I was able to help her a little bit.
Okay, well, that's great. That's a good note to end on from both of you, actually. Thank you. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. It's been an absolutely fascinating conversation. I thank you both for sharing your experiences so openly. I really, really appreciate that. So if you have enjoyed this podcast, please let us know what you think. Do you have a hormonal disorder or any other rare disease? What's your experience? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe to these podcasts to make sure you don't miss out. And also, if you know anyone else who might like to join in the conversation, send them the link as well. And also, you can join our Facebook group, which is called the Rare Disease Network. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you both, Jonathan and Libby, for sharing so openly with us. It's been a fantastic conversation. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And we'll see you all next time on the next edition of Rare Together. Thanks very much indeed. Bye-bye.